I'm BMillzebub, and welcome to a new month of the Seven Princes live stream, a show that is totally not at all making fun of people who think that atheists worship the devil. So, with me tonight, I have the Bible Belt Atheist, aka Satan, and Luciano Gonzales, aka Belphegor. How you two doing tonight?
Doing good. I am currently promoting the show, so if you see me just looking off to the side, that's what I'm doing.
There you go. I appreciate it. Signal boost the shit out of it. And one day, the YouTube part will play keep up. One day. Not expecting big things. But, yeah, so in keeping with something I wanted to start a little while ago, and actually did, I just need Luciano here to do his thing, and Mac, I think, are the only two princes that are missing their stories. So why don't we kick it off with Luciano talking a little bit about Belphegor, and let's see if I can figure out how to... There you go.
Hi, everyone. So now you can see my still vaguely unpacked room, but it's mostly packed, so it's mostly unpacked, so that's good. I chose the name Belphegor, whose name I cannot pronounce, and he is one of the seven princes. He helps people make discoveries, and I chose him because I thought it was really neat. He whispers little suggestions that nudge people along the path of discovery, and usually those discoveries make people rich, and oftentimes those discoveries are used for evil, which is a whole lot of technology. So, but that's my prince.
Wow, that's some real Mark of the Beast shit you got going there. Yeah, I mean, it's because it's supposed to be a microchip that goes, oh no, it's the right hand, sorry.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, calling a discovery evil. I mean, discoveries themselves are not inherently evil. It's what you do with them. But let's not try to convince some people of that.
I mean, it's funny because the particular demon lord that I chose, or I guess devil lord, depending on like what it is you're talking about, is known for the sin of sloth, which is weird. I wouldn't exactly think of inventors as being people who are lazy, but I guess if you invent something too good, you make life easier for people. And when life is easier, I guess people can slack off more. I don't know.
Terrible. Some of my most productive days are days where I slack off. Come on. I don't see what's wrong with that. I genuinely don't.
I mean, you should take it up with the Catholic Church.
Oh, I mean, it's not like I have a series where I literally smack their doctrine around like a rag doll. I mean, I totally do. But
well, me and you together.
Yeah.
I talk about the Catholic Church sometimes. It's weird. You'd think I do it more since I'm an ex-Catholic, but most of the stuff I talk about is like social stuff. I'm not a very good atheist YouTuber. I'm more of a humanist YouTuber.
No, it's not that yours doesn't have its place. It definitely does. You know, it'd be pretty awesome if some more people would talk about humanism, myself included in that. But, you know, that's just how it goes, right?
It's funny because one of my last videos actually did talk about religion. I talked about, I did a deep dive into Christian TikTok, which is weird. I did a youth, and I explored what all the youths are up to. So,
okay,
youths.
They're very weird. The internet is a very strange place, and I don't often like it.
Yeah, I think the world could be better off without TikTok.
I tend to agree, honestly.
Yeah, I don't get the point of TikTok. Like, okay,
it's basically like a modern and absolutely much worse version of Vine.
It's so much worse than Vine. Like, I really liked Vine. Not everyone who came from Vine was good, but there were so many good YouTubers who got their start on Vine. And now there's TikTok, and I don't want the people on TikTok to go on to YouTube.
I was in a store earlier, and I overheard this parent ask where their kids were, and one of their other kids were like, "Oh, they're over there making a TikTok." It's like, I kind of hate my life right now. Damn kids in your phone apps.
It's not all terrible. It's just unfortunate that so much of it is terrible.
Yeah.
I feel older when I watch TikTok because I'm just like, I can understand why old people don't like young people after watching TikTok. It makes it make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Suddenly the backwards motion of ageism makes sense.
Yeah.
If this is what the young people are doing, maybe they don't deserve the internet.
Yeah. I mean, Luciano, people like you and I, people who have experience with dial-up internet, we definitely deserve the internet. We were force-fed the beginnings of dubstep.
The thing that's worse though is that like the kids on TikTok aren't even the worst ones because like they're kids. I'm not gonna go after them just for being like, hey, this is a fun thing to do. The people that I tend to hate the most on TikTok are adults. And like Christian TikTok is filled with adults. It's filled with like youth ministers who are not youths themselves, and like weird people who want to preach to, I guess, the TikTok masses, and it's just awful.
Yeah.
See, that description kind of makes me think of I can't remember where this preacher was, and I don't even know if it's like a legit thing or if it's just like a hoax, but it's this like elderly preacher who's probably in his 70s or 80s, and he's rapping. And I'm gonna say he was rapping very charitably. And he's like, "That's because Jesus Christ is my N-word."
Oh no!
I'm like, oh, cringe so hard.
I remember that.
What makes it even worse is his wife gets in on it too, who is about the same age. It's like, oh my god. Why?
Honestly, I low-key enjoy it because it's so like off the wall funny, and it can't possibly be real. There's no way it's real. But I don't think I'd be too surprised if it was either.
It kind of feels real just because it's so out there. It's like, did someone make this up, or like, is this real?
Yeah.
Really high level trolling over here on that part of the internet.
I mean, like, top level Poe. You're not getting better.
Yeah.
Oh, holy hell.
So are we ready to be news dudes for the next hour and talk about the news?
I am ready. You guys have your news stories?
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Might as well go, Luciano. You're the encyclopedia here.
Well, I'm going to be talking about a very interesting topic. And that sounds sarcastic, but actually it's not, because when we talk about climate change. So Indonesia, which is a place not that many humanists or atheists pay a tremendous amount of attention to, even though it's actually like a place that deserves way more attention than it gets because it's the largest, it's the country with the most Muslims in the world. I had to think of the like right way to word that. And they are moving their capital city. The details aren't super specific yet, but in the wake of their city literally sinking into the sea, they are getting ready to build a new capital city. So currently, Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia, and it is the second largest metropolitan area in the world. It's larger than Los Angeles, and it's larger than any city in the United States, because the number one single largest metropolitan area in the world is Tokyo. And Jakarta has a total of 30 million people living within its greater metropolitan area. My brain decided to ESL really hard just now and made it so that I couldn't pronounce that word. But it'd be like that sometimes. And a couple of weeks ago, it was announced that Indonesia is officially preparing to begin the long process of building a new city and making it their next capital. They're going to be building it on the island of Borneo, which is not where the current capital is located. The current capital is located on the island of Java, which is the single most densely populated island in Indonesia, and it is one of the single most densely populated islands on the entire world. In the entire world, I think "in" is the right word there. And among other things, part of the reason why it is that they're getting ready to move isn't just that the island and the city are literally sinking into the sea and will be completely underwater by 2060 at the very latest, and entirely possibly by 2050, which is in like 31 years. Yeah, it's in 31 years. So most of the people who are watching this live stream, I think everyone who's watching this live stream, as far as I know, unless we die of unnatural causes, we will be alive when the entire capital city of Jakarta is underwater, which is terrifying because that's 30 million people. But I thought that was a really interesting news story that in a month of just kind of hellish news stories didn't really get the coverage that it deserves, especially because this isn't even the first artificially built capital. There are a variety of other capitals, and some of them have been built as recently as the early 2000s, whereas a lot of them were from a lot earlier, most especially the 16th century, and then the 19th century. But now we're going to get to see an entire city be built over the course of probably 25 years, but estimates have not yet started getting super specific. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for, especially in a country that has very interesting conceptions of religious freedom. I think that I'm going to be making a video talking about Indonesia specifically over the course of the next 3 weeks, because not that many people pay attention to it, and we should, and it's a really weird country. For those of you who don't know, I speak a little bit of Indonesian, and I studied Indonesian history pretty closely when I was in college, so that's part of the reason why I knew what was going on, and I find it so interesting. But that's my news story.
And so let me start off by saying this. I mean, come on. My mouse likes to be funny. Why? Okay, there it is. Okay, no, the right or left clicker on my mouse. I can't speak tonight either. Doesn't like to work sometimes, so I'm just gonna. It's fake news. Climate change is not real. It's fake. And Jakarta isn't real. It's made up. It's fake news. That's my shoddily done Donald Trump. But I mean, yeah, no. This is shit that has been predicted since I was pretty young with climate change. The entire cities were eventually going to be underwater, and hey, it's fucking happening. This exactly what was forecasted 20 or so years ago is happening. And a capital city in a country is being moved somewhere else because it's being flooded. This is not fake news. Everyone out there who thinks climate change is fake news needs to pull their head out of their asses and get on this.
It's also worth noting that that's not the only capital city which is actually sinking. Manila, the capital city of the Philippines, which is a country that a lot more people pay attention to, is also sinking. It's sinking right now, like as we're speaking. So And I think that there's a country in that region that is also literally sinking, but it's like the entire country. Whereas Indonesia and the Philippines are multiple islands, and Indonesia especially is several hundred islands that just sort of make one super country that is a country that is remarkably powerful given how little people tend to care about it.
Yeah.
My point, my thing with that is, why try and move the capital city? You should be working on trying to make it the world's first underwater city.
There were actually, in some of the articles that I read in the build up to this, there were people who talked about the idea of an underwater city, and the conclusion that they ultimately came up with was it's not really worth living in an underwater city, and also it's not like the city is being abandoned because the city has 30 million people living in like its greater region. So they want to make it into Indonesia's New York City, which is a questionable decision for so many reasons. And I'm going to see if I can pull up some of the articles and put them on the YouTube thing. So for a few seconds, I might have my camera off when you guys are telling your stories. So that way I can share articles with people because it's really interesting to read about. Also kind of terrifying, but kind of interesting.
All right. BBA, you want to go next or do you want to go last?
Yeah, I'll go. Might as well.
That's the enthusiasm I look forward to.
No, but I just want to say a disclaimer. I just found out about this like yesterday. So I haven't really had a lot of time to research it, but my thing is, if I can get back to the link or the article, is if anybody has been paying attention to political news, which I admittedly haven't really for a while, even though I should since I'm now of legal voting age. The Democratic National Committee is thinking about rejecting the proposals from Iowa and Nevada that would allow virtual caucuses. Now, I don't know a whole lot about what caucuses are. So that's kind of a part of, like I said, I haven't had a lot of time to research this because I just found out about this yesterday. And I guess I can say a big thank you to my Bluetooth in the car not working yesterday because otherwise I wouldn't have a story to be telling. So basically, with what I've been reading about on CNN, I can put the link to the article in the YouTube chat after I finish my section. But basically, their biggest concern with this is the tampering, the Russian hacking that happened in the 2016 elections. So they want to try and you guys are making me not be able to talk now.
It's contagious.
Their big fear with that is the cyber attacks, like what happened in 2016. So they're trying to stop the caucuses from happening for mainly that reason. So I'm gonna quote what's his name, DNC Chair Tom Perez. He says, "We concur with the advice of the DNC security experts that there is no telecaucus system available that meets our standard of security and reliability given to the scale needed for the Iowa and Nevada caucuses and the current cybersecurity climate." I think the biggest thing, because whenever I was listening to CNN, because that's where I found out about this, was the Sirius XM channel for CNN. The big thing with them was, do you support or not support their decision to, or their plan to reject the caucuses? And my answer is I don't know, because I haven't had enough time to research it. So that's pretty much all I have.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar, a caucus vote is a really weird type of vote that most states don't have, from my understanding. It's used primarily in primaries, and it is people getting together. The way that it's depicted online is that it's people getting together and then just sort of clumping together when they're going to be doing their votes. Some states like Iowa, which is the first state in the country to do their primary voting, which is really dumb and awful, and Iowa really shouldn't be the first state that caucuses. And I know that's going to annoy whoever lives in Iowa, but it's true. Iowa's voters are not representative of the vast majority of voters throughout the rest of the country. Iowa has a very weird population in comparison to the rest of the country, and it's just dumb that Iowa is the first country to do its primary voting, but it be like that sometimes. And it's really weird that that's the reason the DNC doesn't want to go through with it, because Russia's virtual attacks didn't actually include a significant focus on hacking voting machines. They wanted to, and voting machines can be hacked, but when we talk about Russia's cyber interference with our elections, we're not being that literal. We're not suggesting that Russians came in and changed voting results. They can, and that happens, but that is not what we talk about when we talk about the cybersecurity of our elections. That's just weird.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems to me to be undemocratic to, exclude people that can't be somewhere physically, but I mean, we're talking about the Democratic Party here, the party that has this thing called superdelegates, which is a totally undemocratic thing anyway, because it's just rich people that get an extra say because they're rich. But them rejecting the idea of virtual caucusing sounds like a bad idea to me. I mean, that's really all I have. It's not terribly democratic, I don't think.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't really say, whether I support it or not, because I just found out about this yesterday. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm definitely not a cybersecurity analyst, so I'm just kind of throwing out my semi-uneducated opinion about cybersecurity, but I mean, is that really the reason, though? Is it really?
It's not. It's the pretext that they're using. I think it's interesting. I'm glad that someone brought up the story, because I didn't know that there was a place in the United States that wanted to implement that plan. I wish I could be a fly on the wall of the DNC as they made that decision, because I would be interested in hearing what they actually had to say, sort of unfiltered. But I think it's neat, and I hope that in the future it doesn't get rejected. I can understand legitimately, as a security person, the concern that they have, but I think that they're relying on a really weird and really specific interpretation of cybersecurity. It's just weird.
Yeah, and if you guys are, anybody who's watching the chat, I just put in the link to the article a couple minutes ago, so that I was reading off of.
All right, Bob, it's your turn.
All right. Hopefully everyone's ready, because this actually, come on, solo layout. Thank you, StreamYard, for finally playing Keep Up. But a little bit of a trigger warning, because I am going to be talking tangentially about abuse. There are a pair of bills going through, I want to say it's Wisconsin. Yeah, it's Wisconsin. And they're sponsored by representatives, English, do you speak it? Representatives Melissa Sargent, Chris Taylor, and Senator Lena Taylor. And let me see if I can, of course I didn't put the name of the bills at the top. There are two bills called the Child Protection Act and the Mandatory Clergy Reporting Act. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those two. And I actually got a couple of them to send me like the preliminary drafts of the bills. So the language isn't finalized, but I'm kind of hoping that the full language goes public as soon as they're introduced. But yeah, I'll definitely make sure that I play keep up with these whenever they do, and I'll put it on Twitter or something. But yeah, thank you, all three of you representatives who got back to me. I greatly appreciate it. So let's start with talking about the Child Protection Act. Basically, it just acts as the statute of limitations for reporting sexual abuse as a child. And right now, as it stands, the age is 35. That's the statute of limitations. If you're abused as a child, you have until you're 35 years old to report it. After that, it's, legally speaking, water under the bridge. But this bill gets rid of that. I don't possibly see how this can be a bad thing. I honestly think it's absurd that there's a statute of limitations for sexual abuse. So I'm more than happy to see that go away. And other than protecting itself, I don't see why the Catholic Church is against this. I really don't. And the Mandatory Clergy Reporting Act will expand the types of child abuse and neglect that a member of the clergy is required to report. So right now, if outside of the confessional, if a clergy person hears about some kind of abuse or neglect, they're of course required to report it, and they should. Obviously with exception of confidential communication, which would be like the confessional. And yeah, it expands the requirements to any form of abuse or neglect, not just sexual abuse. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why the church is against this. I mean, I do. But it's kind of childish that they think that it's specifically aimed at the Catholic Church, because it's aimed at everything. Everything is, bearing the brunt of this. Every single religion, doesn't matter. But in true Catholic form, they think it's an attack against them. I mean, you got to do something with your persecution complex, otherwise, why have it? I'm not too familiar with how other religions do a confessional kind of thing, but I'm pretty sure the Catholic Church isn't the only one that has a similar practice to that. The language of the preliminary draft didn't get more specific than clergy, so anybody. I don't see how it's an attack on the Catholic Church, and I mean, here's the big thing. The big question I have, if it were to be an attack on the Catholic Church, which it is not, why isn't a requirement for penance, if what everyone should know about the Catholic Church when it comes to confession, you have to do a penance. You're not just getting your sins wiped away. You have to do something about it. Usually it's a couple Hail Marys. But if you go into a confessional and you say that you've abused a child, why isn't your penance go to the fucking police and turn yourself in? I don't know. I think I think that's letting them get off a little too easily. What do you two think?
So I think that part of the reason why the penance isn't that is because the abusers aren't often the people who go confess. Whether it's a clergy person who did the actual abuse or it's someone else, it's not like they're going to go up and confess their sins. I mean, I'm sure that there are exceptions to this rule. Like, if I were to say that all people who abused children were never to confess, that's probably not true. Odds are there are a couple of people, but I think it makes sense. I think that the rule that wants to be implemented, the rule that those Congress people are trying to implement, is a logical rule. I applaud them, and I hope that it passes. And even if it was an attack specifically against the Catholic Church, the question shouldn't be, is that a bad thing? The question should be, does the Catholic Church merit this? And yes, they do.
Yeah. And I mean, like with the Catholic Church, and I'm sure BBA will back me up on this as soon as he, gets his 2 cents in. If you don't confess something you've done, like if you forget about it, it's one thing, but I don't think you're going to forget abusing a child. That's not likely to happen. So if you don't confess it and it's not something you genuinely forgot about, it would be considered a lie by omission in the confessional, which is itself kind of a sin, and not something you're going to get forgiven for.
Yeah.
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 Your thoughts, BBA?
Well, I think it's a good thing. The Catholic Church for the longest time, anything that is come up legally, for example, this bill or set of bills, I guess, anything that has the Catholic Church underlyingly in its contents, they always love to scream victim, even though it's not solely directed at them. It's directed at everybody, religious or non-religious, institution-wise. The Catholic Church just loves to scream victim, and it's ridiculous. But in the way of the Catholic Church, I just want to slightly change the subject. Based on your video that you just did recently with the formal defection, I just last night typed up an email. I have it on a scheduled send, but for after Labor Day weekend. But I have an email typed up requesting for formal defection from the church that I'm technically still a parishioner of. So
awesome.
Hopefully that gets going through. I would pull up the email on screen, but it's got personal names in there, so I don't want to be outing anybody's names out there. So
I don't blame you. Yeah, I definitely look forward to hearing more about that.
Oh yeah, and I'm definitely gonna do a video about it once I hear more. So
yeah, I'd be curious to see how someone who wasn't baptized Catholic goes about defection, assuming they even let you.
Yeah,
because it has been technically abolished for about a decade.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The Catholic Church is just fantastic.
Just a place that. Oh, did anybody see the tweet that I put out talking about the piece of mail that my mother got?
Oh, I did.
Yeah. For anybody watching this who didn't see the tweet, or if you're not following me on Twitter, first off, if you're not following me on Twitter, what are you doing? So, and if you guys aren't subbed to Bub, what are you doing with your life? So, anyways, my mother got I should have brought it up here with me. It's downstairs. But my mother got a free book called The Virgin Mary from an organization called America Needs Fatima. And along with the letter, in the tweet, I only took a picture of the first page of the letter. But in the letter, I'll just read it to you. It says, "I'm delighted to be able to share this enclosed book, The Virgin Mary by Father Thomas de St. Laurent, with you. I believe it will deepen your understanding of Our Lady and bring you closer to her. As you read the book, The Virgin Mary, you may find that Mary will touch your life in a new way, and that our Blessed Lady will fill you with unbounded confidence in God and in herself. And if you live this devotion sincerely, you will give more glory to Jesus in a month than in many years of more demanding sacrifices and harsh penances. For all of these reasons, the book, The Virgin Mary, is so very important to your own spiritual life, but it is also important, and listen to this, it is also very important to share it with others." And then my mother's name. "That's why I urgently need your gift of $30, $45, or even $60 today. We have been called to share this book with other good Catholics like yourself. 428,690 have already been distributed at a cost of about $1.33 each. I pray you can help me reach 235,000 more." And then it goes on talking about the Closer to Mary campaign. So I just titled that. We get, my thing saying, she just got that in mail. "We give you this free book to help you grow closer to Mary, but we also need your money to do so." I fucking love the Catholic Church.
Of course they need money.
It's not like they have, $1 trillion a year coming in, so.
No. It's not like the Sistine Chapel by itself is. It's almost impossible to actually find like a good valuation of the Sistine Chapel. But when I was doing research for an older video, I came across some different numbers. It's worth anywhere between $300 billion to $2 trillion. The Sistine Chapel by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Not talking about the rest of Vatican City. Just
the one building. I wouldn't have asked them.
It's really weird how we treat Catholics in this country, especially like the Catholic Church as an institution, given that it is literally another country in addition to being a religion. And I feel like not that many people know that the Catholic Church is also quite literally a country, but it is. And we treat it and Catholic leadership just really weird, given that. I feel like we should really be applying stricter laws to the sorts of stuff that the Catholic churches as an institution can do.
Oh yeah.
We've had Catholic presidents.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think the Vatican City is really the only religious center or the religious capital, quote unquote, that is its own country. Because you have Jerusalem, for Judaism, and then you have Mecca for Islam, but Mecca isn't its own country, I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it's just a city. So the Vatican City is really the only religious capital that I can think of that is its own country.
Yeah.
It's a really weird thing that we don't hold it to stricter standards. And I think it's partially because we are a country that has so many Catholics. So obviously we have to tread carefully. And because Catholics as a whole are involved in so many different facets of American life. And I'm not saying that we should be treating them super harshly. I just think that we should probably be holding them to stricter standards than we are right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's a large institution that has a lot of money to throw around, and politicians love money.
Oh, yeah.
The Supreme Court literally decided that money talks.
Yeah.
People with money have double the voice, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah. The value of your speech literally is evaluated on the number you see in a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That's America. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Well,
this has been an interesting month filled with lots of news. Are there any other major news stories people feel like talking about?
I mean, I heard about a shooting in West Texas earlier today, but I don't really know anything about it.
There were two. I saw one that was trending on Twitter. Dang, there were two.
Yeah, there were two. In the same state of Texas, and if I remember correctly, they weren't too far from each other.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's really sad that that's not like a big thing. And I mean, it is, but like, we're only talking about it idly, and we only heard about it like vaguely. But if this were pretty much any other quote unquote developed country, this would be a major thing that we'd be talking about. But because we're the United States and because we're so big and I'm pretty sure we literally have more guns than people in this country.
Yeah.
We're just, it's not a major thing that we're not all paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like we're fatigued by it. It's like, oh, another shooting, okay.
Yeah.
Did someone just say shit on TV?
What did the president tweet now?
Yeah.
There's also Hurricane Dorian, which I think might be making impact with Georgia and South Carolina right now. It keeps changing its path. At first, it was going to hit Puerto Rico, and the president did a racism. And then it was going to hit Florida. And I think that now it's still going to hit Florida, but it's also going to hit Georgia and parts of South Carolina. It might be hitting Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, but I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, so if we have any luck whatsoever, we'll get to see President Dump do some sweet layups with paper towels.
But this time he'll be giving them to white people, so they'll probably be two-ply.
He'll be more willing to touch them.
He'll invest in two-ply instead of just single-ply. And I know that joke's super edgy to some people, but I'm Puerto Rican. If anyone can make that joke, it's me.
I mean, like it is sad that we joke about that because it is a real problem. But hey, what are you?
Apparently, there's eyeballs in the closet behind me, so that's concerning.
Oh, so yeah. After we end this, definitely let me know that you weren't like axe murdered or something, because eyes in a closet's never a good thing. Might turn into a Michael Myers movie.
I'm gonna clarify that there's actually a bar in that closet, and that's probably what it is that people are seeing, because I can kind of see it. There's a white bar in the closet at like the very top, and I don't know if that's what people are seeing. I hope that's what people are seeing. If not, I am concerned.
It's a modern day Exorcist.
Oh man, I'm an atheist. I'm the worst person this could happen to.
Hell.
Oh no, is it blinking? Oh goodness, I'm actually gonna turn. Is there anything in there? Nope. I was like, I might as well check.
I think you might have to put him on the spot for the rest of the stream, Bub, so that we can keep an eye on his closet.
I think it's worse because I really want to close that, but I can't. Like when I close it, it just like opens up by itself. So Doorknob Head is the real MVP because he made me look.
Yeah.
Got him.
Tell you what, Doorknob Head, for that you get 70 Jeebus bucks.
No,
they're not worth anything, but
For that, you should give him a wrench because he doesn't have a wrench.
Forget the Jeebus bucks. Come on. Yeah. The chat moved and I accidentally clicked the wrong person. There you go, Doorknob. I can't talk tonight. I don't get it.
Satan's in my closet just dabbing on me because he like made me look.
I'm pretty sure Satan's right here.
To be fair, we're both North Carolina people, so
it's true. Yeah.
Part of the reason I haven't been on in the last couple of months is that I've been moving and I'm back in North Carolina. And most people here who knew me before today probably already knew that because I talked about it. But yeah, I'm back in Greensboro. I'm in my semi-final semester of graduate school. It's going to be a lot of work. And actually, right after this, I'm going to be going to finish paper. So
awesome.
Awesome.
Anybody else got any news stories?
I'm going to be on with Lavender Lady tomorrow for Lavender Lady's coffee series. Is it coffee or is it tea? I'm going to be
coffee.
Yeah, we're going to be chatting about Trump's weirdly specific immigration thing about like who gets to become a U.S. citizen. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something like, okay, so initially what I thought it was is like anyone, like even if it's two Americans that are married and have a kid overseas, apparently that's not the case. They're not, counted as that, but it's anyone, an American service member or diplomat, whatever. If someone they go overseas and get someone pregnant, the person who posted was definitely not so delicate about it. They said they knocked them up, but apparently anyone that a service member, diplomat, whatever, gets pregnant, that child won't be considered American.
It's
what?
Nonsense. Yeah. It's a really specific, but there were a couple of reasons why it was that people were confused. The biggest reason is that I think it was either the INS, the Immigration and Naturalization Service, or ICE. It was one of those two tweeted about it and just tweeted about it really stupidly. They made it seem like that was what was going on when it wasn't. And the actual policy, still bad, still really stupid, still really dangerous, but it's not as dramatic as people were saying. But if Trump is over here getting all mad about it, one, it shouldn't have been tweeted out. That's one of the problems. Maybe we shouldn't be announcing policies via tweet when the character limit on Twitter is 280 characters.
I thought it was 240.
Is it 240? I thought it was 240.
240.
Oh, goodness.
Even more time for new ones. I mean, but it's still a bad policy. I mean, like, okay, so normally the minimum amount of time, like say a service member is stationed somewhere, is 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how long I was due to be stationed at Ramstein in Germany. That's how long most of my friends, because we were all single, were slated to be somewhere. So it is within the realm of possibility to develop a serious relationship with someone in that amount of time. And it's not exactly uncommon for an American service member to be involved romantically with local national. It's not uncommon at all. So like to say that any kid that you have with that person that you've developed that intimate connection, or even if it was just like a one night stand and you've got a kid from that, to say that that kid's not American and one of the parents isn't going to get to see that kid, that's messed up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like with like I got one of my classmates in my college class, in a couple of my college classes. He was born in El Salvador, but he lives here. And the rest of because I was out with him, and then 2 other classmates. The 3 of us, not including him, the other 3 of us, our tuition is anywhere between like, I think like $1,300 US to $2,000, and his is like $3,500, because even though he lives here, but he was born in El Salvador, he's not considered an American citizen, so he has to pay out-of-state tuition.
Yep.
Which I found out about and just slightly pissed me off.
I always forget how many people don't know about that, because I'm Hispanic and I roam in not like only Hispanic circles when I'm not online, but like the circles I'm the most involved in are Hispanic. And I'm one of the people who's trying to get that law changed, because it's different in every state. In some states, even if you are charged out-of-state tuition for not being a documented person in college, one, not that many people know that you can be undocumented and be in a public university. You can. It's not advisable for obvious reasons, but you can. And in most states, you have to pay out-of-state tuition. But there are a couple of states like California and a few others where you can pay in-state tuition. And then there are some states where they charge you in-state tuition, but you can't get federal aid. And then there's some states where they charge you out-of-state tuition, even if you've been there literally your entire life, and you can't get federal financial aid. And that's a thing worth talking about, because I always forget that people don't know about that, because it's something that makes me so angry.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, he is. Oh no. No, I remember now. He said that he's here on a work visa.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that now. So that's because I was gonna say he should be a documented citizen, but I remember just now that he said he's here on a work visa. So. That might be part of it. I don't know. I'm not sure.
If you're a documented, it's really weird that he is paying out of state and he's on a visa.
I have no idea. That's what he's said. That's what he's told us. So
yeah. I mean, I actually work with study abroad. I work like next to study abroad at my university, and I know a whole lot about the study abroad process at my university. When I applied for the university that I work for now and that I'm a student of right now, which is UNCG, I was actually still overseas, and I didn't do the process like I was someone who wasn't an American citizen, but doing the process when you live overseas is different, even if you're an American citizen. So like doing the application process and all of that stuff, there are a few extra steps you have to go through. And there's also like you have to apply extra early, so that way all of your materials get in, especially because when I was doing my college applications, a lot of stuff had to be mailed. I don't know if it's the same now, but when I was doing mine, I had to mail in a bunch of my stuff, which was very unfortunate when you live in Honduras. But yeah.
Yeah. So.
Anything else going on in the world?
We did it, guys. We talked about every news story.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. MSNBC, CNN. You guys can close down. Fox, you're just a steaming pile of dog shit. You should close your doors forever.
Just send all of your people over to Bub. Have them subscribe to him. Have him become his patrons.
Yeah.
I would definitely appreciate that. Also, links for every one of the princes, Twitters, YouTubes. Those of you who have sent me your Patreon links, you'll find those in the description below. But yeah, since we have covered literally everything in the world, top to bottom, I think I'm going to close shop here. You have a couple of options that at least people that I follow. Neil the 604 Atheist is interviewing Julie LaVoice. And you could also go to Mrs. Snarky's live stream in about 25 minutes when she takes it live. So those are the options that I see everyone having. Yeah. All right.
Bye,
That'll
guys.
do it for this one. What was that, Luciano?
I said bye.
That'll do it for this one. Once again, all links are in the description, at least most links. If more people send me Patreons, those will get added later. But yeah, take it easy, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Bye, guys.